welcome back to the channel. Today we got a lot going on again. If you watch the last episode, we were starting on the tub template. The tub template is obviously done, and the tub on this side is finished. He's finishing putting in the last few clecos. He'll be moving on to the passenger side, doing a template for that and getting that tub in. We're getting really close to finishing out the back. Probably the end of this week, the back will be finished and all the sheet metal and carbon. Taylor's working on a tin in between the seat bar and the cross member here. And Danny's starting on a fire system. As you can see, we got the fire bottles in there, and he's plumbing up all the fire. The fire system is extremely important to keeping a driver safe in a case that anything happens, a fire, crash, any of that stuff. So he'll show you where he plumbs everything, how he plumbs it, where all the nozzles are, and what you need to do to stay safe if you're going to install a fire system in your own car. We also want to thank all you guys for supporting the channel and buying shirts and just watching the videos. It's been awesome, the support we've had, and love it, and can't wait to keep growing this channel. We got a lot of stuff coming, including our shop car, which you'll see very soon. And to answer a lot of you guys' questions that you've had, a big one's been, when is Eagle going to be done? Where is Eagle going to race for his first race? Well, at the end of this video, we're going to talk a little bit about that.
It's real cramped in here, doesn't it?
It's not that cramped. It's better than a box fort.
You obviously didn't have a big enough box.
Oh, I had a big box. In fact, at one point, I had 3 taped together.
So Taylor, in a sense, are these block-off plates? Or just extra plates for reinforcement?
No, there's no structural reinforcement with these things. They're so thin. It's 0.25 to 0.30 when you hit it with a pair of calipers, depending on the quality of the plate. It just goes in to help protect anything from coming from the rear forwards, especially when the drive shaft, if the drive shaft lets go, the carbon fiber drive shaft just turns to dust. So it keeps everything from coming this direction and getting into the driving compartment and, you know, possibly into the driver's face, or something coming through and hitting the shifter, knocking it out of place or something, you know, out of gear, and causing some bigger issues.
Its major function is just to close off this area from the inside of the car. This entire chromoly cage will be getting powder coated so it does not rust. The cage is made out of chromoly, not titanium. We have a bunch of components that are made out of titanium, but the frame, the cage, all of this structure itself, this is all chromoly, tubing and plate and billet steel.
Also, it looks like you made some progress with the tub.
Yeah, we managed to get a template. I ended up using the template, or actually the tub from the Willys, fit right up in here nice. And I taped cardboard to it and used it to make a template. And then I took that and laid it over my full-size tub, traced it out and cut it out, and then whittled, clickered it in until I basically have what I got here. And now I'm just finishing up nailing it in. And it's a tub. I haven't finished this cut. I don't know where it's going to get cut. This front edge is going to get trimmed back a little farther, but for the most part, it is what it is. I got a nice gap all the way around, so I'm not banging on the quarter panel. So I'm really happy with it. I would have liked to have gone a little bit higher with it, but honestly, this car is going to be a small tire car, and even where I'm at, you should easily be able to get a 32 or 33 inch slick under here without any trouble at all. And being this is a Camaro, you're already limited on tire space, because if you look up into this area here, this is the deal breaker for a Camaro body and big tires. This is why it's so, a lot of times you'll see the tire tucked in real far, because as the tire expands, it wants to go up into this area. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll work this area out a little bit to make more room through here for the tire to clear. But for the most part, you can see the interference in this area and how it would interfere with a big tire trying to get up in there. That's one of the reasons you'll see people massage the quarter panel on the 69 Camaros to be able to get that tire up into that area without having to suck it way into the car. The tires do look better out a little bit. You gotta kind of pick your battles though. Like on a 70 Chevelle, the car's got some hips. 1970 Javelin, same thing, the car's got some hips. You can put a big tire up in there. But your first gen Camaros, second gen Camaros, they really don't want that big tire under there. They just don't care.
So for a lot of people that aren't in the racing scene, when you say big tire and small tire, what exactly do you mean?
Well, basically I'm talking about your small tire radial classes versus your big tire slick classes. Basically, you can group them into two groups. Basically, you have the old school big tire, which was your big slicks that we've been running since forever. And then along came your drag radials, or as we like to call them, small tires. Now, this particular one is a 315, so it's actually kind of a big for a small tire. Your more popular one would be the 275, which is a little bit shorter than this, but just for comparison, we have these two tires. Now, the track prep on this tire is going to be more akin to like walking on duct tape, as opposed to like NHRA prep for the bigger tire, because the big slicks, they like to have a little bit of give as they go. The radial, on the other hand, dead hooks. That just, it goes and rolls out and you're gone. It's pretty remarkable how quick and fast guys are going on the radials nowadays, to the point where I don't think they'll ever make the slick obsolete, but they're going about as fast in comparison. Not far behind your Pro Mod numbers. Now this particular tire is a 1734 5x16, where this is a 215 6015. I mean, obviously the comparison is pretty simple. Big tire, small tire. But the construction is vastly different. Your radial tire is going to be a radial, so you are not going to get the tire growth from at speed that you would from big tire slick. You're not going to need all the clearances. You're also going to tune your suspension a little different. Your radial tires tend to like the separation. They like to get pounded down into the ground as the car's going. Where your slick wants to squat and go. I'm seeing more and more guys kind of getting away from the squat and go, and they're kind of adding a little separation now too. As time goes on, we don't know where the technology's going, but the cars are going to keep getting quicker. Basically, as a quick comparison, when you hear us talk about big tires and small tires, this is what we're talking about. Your radials are your small tires. Your big floppy slicks are your big tires.
It's like Taylor
this midsection knocked out. Looks like that plate's gonna take some time, Taylor.
Yes. They're very tedious plates. We have a love-hate relationship.
That's putting it mildly.
You know, one wrong move and the entire plate's ruined. So then you have to start from scratch all over again. The benefit though is that you do have a template to go off of to kind of help you. But for the most part, it's you know, you start over from scratch.
So will these two plates take up majority of the day for you?
I started on this particular plate on Friday. Went through a couple renditions of it, which this goes behind the fire bottles that Danny's working on right now. So started on this on Friday. Spent part of my morning coming to this final piece. I've started this one today. Hopefully this goes smoothly, because if it does, then the plate opposite of it will hopefully go smoothly. And then I will then basically mirror this plate and put it behind the driver's seat. Hopefully within the next day or so, I'll have them all done. I'll have little hash marks laid out to where that'll be my stitch for my weld with the silicon bronze. We don't weld these in solid. So we just stitch them in with silicon bronze. Like I said, hopefully within the next day or so, I'll have all 4 pieces done. And then we can tack those in whenever and do a final weld out on them.
Connect.
Cuts like a connect.
Looks like we moved over to the fire lines instead of the brake lines today, huh?
Yeah, I can't do any more brake lines on this part of the car till after we do final assembly. I can do the back one, but I have to have that panel right here in place yet before I can do that. And so it's fire line time. This side is the easier of the two, and it's still a bit of a pain because you basically have to bend from this point all the way over to this point by taking little pieces and lining them up with the angle you need and marking the chassis and all that. You just can't make one bend, put it in, check it, make another bend, check it. It won't fit. So you have to, hopefully you got your lines right, and you start bending all this up, and then you put it up in there and see if it's close. If it's a little bit off, maybe on a twist, you can take that out of it. But this one went pretty good. It was a little trying right here because the way this tube wanted to lay, so it didn't have to do any kind of strange bends down or bends up here, that's where the tube wanted to run down this one. Well, when it got down here, now you're behind this tube. So you got to get outside of that tube. And this stuff, you just don't bend it around your fingers. That looks like crap anyway. So you got to make a couple little angles on it, and then so it looks sort of good. And then here, we have to drop it way down, as just above these tabs, because we have a weight bar. Oh, you can go back over there. We have a weight bar that goes here. And as you can see, it hangs down below this tube quite a ways. Well, this tube has to be low enough that it clears these tabs, clears this, and most of all, clears this little plastic tab that holds it. So once you determine the depth that's going to be,
then you just bend it down, bend it across, keep doing a little more, a little more, a little tighter until you get the height you want. And then you run up here and you basically duplicate it up here. This runs across the top. It's going to make a 90-degree bend right here. And right in this corner, it's going to run all the way up here. Once it gets up here in this general area, it's going to go across and tie into a bulkhead fitting. But the bulkhead fitting will be on the firewall. Firewall's not here yet. So actually the firewall is going to be out here. So I don't know how this bend's even going to go yet. So I just may leave it like this, or I just may put the bend going straight up and just, that's where it stays for now. But it's so much easier putting this in and the one on that side without any sheet metal in here, because you can see when you go to fit it, you just shove the tube through. If there's sheet metal here, you can't do that. Now you got to do more of the hard kind of bending, which I don't like doing. It's stressful. But this one come out good. That one over there is going to be just about twice as hard to do, because that one, due to the seat being so low in the car and just driver's area configuration, normally if the fire bottles are up here, I will come out the same as that one, down, over, and run along that tube. Well, when you get to this tube, you just have to kind of hump over it. And then you'll come over here, and then I'm going to have to come down right beside this tab on this and bring it straight down till it gets about here, and then it's going to make a slight bend out and then go down to here. And it's going to run along this tube right above this over to here, where it's going to drop down, run along the side of this tube, come up, and right around here we kick it up a little more again, so it brings it up to here, 90 over to here, 90 over to here, and then drop down like over there, come back up, go up here, and it runs up this bar too. But when it gets up here, it's going to have a T where one line is going to go off and go over here and catch the foot area, sorry. And then here it's going to go up also off the T and go into another bulkhead fitting out here through the firewall, where on this side it'll go over, run down this tube, around this, run down to here, and have a nozzle here which gets fuel pump, fuel cell, and all that. That side, when it comes through, is going to go back up along that dash bar and run over here, where it will have a little T and have a little short piece with a nozzle pointing at that fuel rail, comes over here, 90s up, shoots this fuel rail. That's where that ends. So one bottle does fuel rail and fuel rail, the other bottle does driver's feet and fuel cell and fuel pump. Kind of divides it up. But this one is going to be a tricky one to bend up, because you've got many little kicks and turns and twists, and it'll go in okay. That's something else you got to watch. You don't want to get it to where you can't get it in the car once you get it bent up. But it goes in here, up against this, and over. Shouldn't be an issue. It's just one of those things that once you start bending it, you hope it all lines up. If it doesn't, you've just wasted a piece of tubing that you can't use for a long piece anymore. You can use it for short pieces. And I don't like doing that. So far, I've been lucky. And yeah, that's what's in store for the rest of the week or part of the rest of the week anyway. What I'll be doing is going to probably not be quite as long here. I'll bend it sooner and bring it over somewhere in this area right here, and then it's going to go across and do something like this, and then over there it'll go straight across and then come down 90 down here and run down this. But I'm just making a test piece to see how I'm going to bend it, because when I start bending this, it's going to be on like about a 10-foot long piece of tubing. It's all going to be one piece. So I've got to mark my bend marks, the center, mark where I make my bends, so I can just transfer all that information over to the 10-foot piece and just go with it. Sounds simple, nerve-wracking. I don't like to make it twice. So that's all this is. That's what I do. I take a little piece of the tubing I've got and I practice doing what I have to do with them and transfer that over to the real deal.
All cars are required to have this fire restraint system in the car?
Yes, most all cars are required to have it, and I would have it even if it wasn't required, because if something happens and the car catches on fire and you can't get out of the car, you want to try to get the fire out as quickly as possible. Not all cars need to have, this is 2 10-pound fire bottles, so not all cars need 2 10-pound fire bottles necessarily. It's a good idea to have it. It is a lot of weight. Some people don't want to carry the weight, but for safety, it's good to have. With an alcohol car like this, you need it. With a nitrous car, with a 1.5 gallon fuel cell, you could get away with one. For something like a street car like the Escalade, you could probably get away with one, or even maybe a 5-pound. But for this car, that 20 pounds is needed. And it's really important where you put the nozzles, which maybe not today, but in a later episode, you'll see where we put the nozzles and why we put the nozzles where we put them. That's important also. You don't just want the stuff spraying out in the air. It's got to spray where the base of the fire is to get the fire put out. So he does really good with these lines. He does all these lines, and it's one of the most important things to keep a driver safe. And I have seen it. We saw Mike Murillo caught on fire, and I think it knocked him out. He couldn't get out of the car, and they finally drug him out. But it's scary. You don't want to be stuck in a car with it on fire and not have a fire system. I'd much rather have the extra 15 pounds of weight than not have one. So very important.
So a lot of people don't know what a ghost flame is. Can you kind of give a better example of that? Normally,
how would you explain it, Danny?
You guys see people running around, they act like they're on fire.
Alcohol burns almost clear. So if gasoline,
especially
oil,
on a sunny day,
it is like an orange flame.
especially.
The more oil that's in it, the darker the flame is. But when you have methanol, there's no oil really in it. It's just alcohol. And
It's clean.
it burns almost clear in the daytime. You can't hardly see it. At nighttime, you might see a very pale blue flame. Did some old videos of IndyCar way back, many, many years ago, probably 30, 40 years ago, where they had a fire break out when one of the Indy cars came in for his pit stop. And all you see is the guy running around, flailing his arms on the ground, rolling around. He was on fire. And nobody knew he was on fire but him.
Yeah, scary stuff. So have your fire system. Don't get on fire. If you get on fire, get the fire put out quick.
A lot of people were asking what these fasteners are exactly, what the Zeus fasteners were. Can you give them an example or kind of a better description of what they are?
Yeah, they're quarter turn fasteners, and we use them on pretty much anything that's going to come out. So the floor under the driver, it doesn't come out, so it gets screwed in. Firewall doesn't come out, it gets screwed in. But any of these panels that you're going to take out regularly, front end, we even do the front window and rear window now, so you can get in and clean the tubs. This floor, the center floor, all the pans underneath the engine and transmission, they all have them. So basically you only have to turn it a quarter turn to get the panel out, which is really nice to have. They sell them in a bunch of different lengths and a bunch of different sizes. We use the same size for all the floors and that. Some of the panels on the side, we'll show you guys later, are really small. The windows get a lot smaller, Zeus, but they sell them like, I don't know, 300 thousandths long all the way up to like 700 thousandths long. And you got to pair it with the correct size spring so that it'll hold whatever panel. If the panel's thin, you want a lot taller spring and a shorter Zeus, so it'll tighten up with a thin panel. If you got a 1/4 inch thick fiberglass front end, you got to go the other way. You got to get a longer Zeus and a shorter spring. A little bit of math there. Maybe we'll get into that more on a later video when we actually have some springs installed and we're putting a front end on. But that's what they do. This is also something we came up with that's been a great idea. We've sold a million of these things. Is our Zeus tool. So everyone kind of carries a Zeus tool because, like we said, the front end's held on by Zeus's. So if you're on a starting line, you can't get it to start, or there's a fire and you can't get a one-piece front end off, you can't get the hood off to put the fire out, and everyone's looking in their pocket trying to get a Zeus tool out and can't find one, it's bad. So we started making these. What it is a clamp that goes on a chassis on an 1 5/8 tube, and then there's a Zeus tool that pops in there with an O-ring. So you can put it anywhere, like I said, but I got it here just because this car is high in air. We usually put them on the hoop on both sides. That way, if you ever have an emergency or you just don't want to misplace your Zeus tool, you open a door and you just grab the Zeus tool out. They come out like that. You use a Zeus tool, and like we said, it's just a quarter turn, and then that's out. You put it back in, and then put your Zeus tool away. So it's very easy, very handy to have, and pretty much all cars have a main hoop or a door bar or something that's 1 5/8, so it works with just about anything. And we came up with this idea because a customer's car came in, and he had Zeus tools taped to the chassis, and we didn't really like that. So this is what we came up with. We actually had a tool before without a clamp. We modified the tool a little bit to work with a clamp, and that's what we got. So if anyone's needing these or uses quarter turns, I highly suggest this because it does help your safety. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a starting line and people are running around trying to find someone's Zeus tool so they can get the front end off because the car's not starting or there's a fire or whatever. Or at the finish line. If you're at the finish line, your car's on fire and the safety guy's trying to get your hood off, you got a Zeus tool. He doesn't have one, there's one there. So that's pretty much it for the quarter turn. This is a little more explainable. We'll do a little more explaining on this later, but basically the spring rivets into the tab, and then this just locks in with a quarter turn and then unlocks and comes right out. So they're super handy. I think it's like an aircraft deal, right? Where it started,
yeah,
maybe.
It's aircraft stuff.
But there's some really cool stuff we use in aircraft that comes in the aircraft industry, like these Clecos. These Clecos are super handy. Basically, this is a temporary nut and bolt. It'll hold it there, and it acts like a nut and bolt, except for it comes right out. We use that on panels we're taking on and off. That way we don't have to put nuts and bolts on everything every single time, because that would take a lot of work. So yeah, that's about it.
That's like on the fire lines. I'm taking those in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. And if I had to put a bolt or a nut or a bolt into those little tabs every time, that'd be impractical.
Yeah.
So I just drilled me 1/8 inch hole, put the Cleco in, holds the line right where I want it as I'm going down, making more bends, and it just holds it in place. So when you do final assembly it, you know right where it's going to go. Very, very, very handy.
Absolutely. All right, that's pretty much going to do it for today. A little bit shorter day than normal, but we got a lot of stuff done still. The passenger side tub template is finished. He's getting ready to cut that out of the carbon over there. Danny's wrapping up some fire line stuff. That's a pretty long process to do those lines. It could take up to 2 days to do all the fire lines and brake lines and stuff. Taylor's getting the bell housing ready to install on a transmission, and hopefully it's got enough tape on it so you can't tell what motor it's for, because nobody knows. But the engine will be here really soon. I know everyone's wanting to see it, and as soon as it's here, we'll let you guys know when we can show you guys. I think you guys are gonna be really happy with it. Also, to answer everyone's question that everyone wants to know, when's the car gonna be done? When are we gonna see the car race? Well, these cars take a lot of time, but the answer to that is the car is gonna be done here, turnkey, ready to go to the track October 1st. Our plan is to have some testing done and make it to World Cup finals. So it's pretty soon. I know it seems like there's still a lot of time between now and then, but we gotta get the car painted, get the car wired, get the car plumbed, get it to powder coat, get it reassembled. So there's a lot of stuff. We're really pushing as hard as we can to have it done for then. And I hope we can go to World Cup finals and see Cletus do really good, and we can be there and meet all you guys, and really enjoying it so far. So thanks again everyone for the support. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel. We literally have our shop car gonna show up in about 15 minutes, and we're gonna unload it, and can't wait to show you guys that also. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.